Something more to this story than, whining Jesus. There must be something more to this story than turning water into wine and then, telling your mother, no, this is not my hour, stop bugging me. But you gotta remember he's a good Jewish boy, and so in the end he's gonna do what his mother asks. And so Shirley, I'm not sure if that happens in your family, but, if you raise them right, no matter how much they whine and complain, they still do what you ask, right? She's not nodding, so I'm not sure what the answer is there. We'll talk about this later. So this is the first Sunday after Epiphany. It's a time of revelation, and we're in the Gospel of John. In the Gospel of John, there are no miracles. Did you think this was one? What do they call it in John? They don't call it a miracle. Who was paying attention? It's called a sign. Yeah, it's called a sign. And in John's Gospel, there are 7 signs, but there are no miracles. This is the first of them. So I'm thinking, okay, so what's so significant about going to a wedding, turning water into wine, and then your disciples follow you because of that? There's got to be more to it than that. So as I thought about it, I thought, I think it's really about talking about, is it Jesus' time? When is it Jesus' time? And then, what is our time, and what are we supposed to do in our time? And I also think it's about relationship. Because one of the things is that Jesus is part of a large community, and in that large community, people get married. And when you go to somebody's wedding, it needs to be a time of abundance. Because people believed in that time that how things went at the wedding would kind of foretell how they would go for the entire life of the marriage. And so, if you ran out of wine, then that said to the gathered community, uh-oh, these two are in trouble. And Jesus didn't want that to happen. It was also a source of embarrassment for a couple to run out of wine at the festivity they set up. So he's part of the community, he's part of the relationship, and clearly he has a really significant relationship with his mother. What is she called here in chapter 2? Is she called Mary? Does he call her mom? Woman. Never in the Gospel of John is she referred to by her name. When she's referred to, we know she is the mother of Jesus. He doesn't call her that, but we know that. There are only 2 times in the Gospel of John that Mary appears. Here, and one other time. Does anybody know what the other time is? Mother, here is your son. Son, here is your mother. I know some of you have read that during our Good Friday service. It is at the foot of the cross when Jesus is crucified. Those are the only 2 times she appears. Clearly, though, they have a bond and a relationship of depth and love that goes beyond probably any words I can put on it. I think the whole notion of timing is also important here. My hour has not come. Have you ever said that? Don't ask me to do that now. This is not the time for me to do that. Don't push me into doing that. I think when we were kids, maybe, or even growing up beyond childhood, there may have been times when in the family we felt pushed by perhaps our parents to do something we didn't feel we were ready to do. Or perhaps we were pushed by a partner or a spouse to do something we didn't feel we were ready to do. And what's our reaction? We get a little peevish, right? That's pretty normal. We get a little peevish. I think it was, a little over 7 years ago when my beloved decided to push me out of my safety zone and away from my safety net into some free fall that we eventually named Faith Family Community Church, and then later Faith Family United Church of Christ. if you've ever been in that situation, I don't know about you, but I'm afraid of heights. So, like being in a free fall, not so much fun. But you know what? There is never not a safety net. The timing is never not right. It's always right. Because there's always somebody there waiting to catch us. Today is also the day that we celebrate St. Martin Luther King Jr. He's a saint in my book. If he's not in yours, you need to cross out Reverend Doctor and write in saint. You can do that with my name too in a few years if you want. Wait till I die. He was 39 years old when he was assassinated. 39. Can you even remember 39? I know some of you can. But for the rest of us, can you even remember 39? Maybe I know you can't. Imagine. You guys are probably too young. Who else is not 30, has not yet hit 39? You guys didn't. You didn't. Okay, the rest of you old fogies. Can you remember where you were when you were 39?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
That's good, Rusty. I'm happy for that. Why do you remember where you were? Was something significant happening then?
Yeah, we was at Lincoln Heath.
You were what?
We were in England.
You were in England, okay. But if you can remember a date or a number, isn't it because something significant, you were someplace significant, or something stood out that year when you were that age or something? I think that's probably it. But can you imagine to a few years earlier than that, won a Nobel Peace Prize for your work? You know, there's so many speeches that Martin Luther King gave, and I can't give any of them. And you've probably heard other white women try to do this. Doesn't go so well, does it? But I looked for something that spoke to me that he said that I hope would speak to you, and it's not one of his most famous, most quoted, most revered speeches. It's a speech that's called Our God is Marching On. It has another name. It's also known as How Long, Not Long, if you've heard it by that title. How Long, Not Long. And I think even as we consider the gospel passage we had today, looking at it with new eyes and hearing it with new ears, and Jesus is always calling us to do that, that if we look at this with new eyes and hear this with new ears, maybe we'll hear something that is a stepping stone from today's gospel about time and relationships into our time and our relationships. This speech was given on the steps of the state capitol in Montgomery, Alabama, and it happened after the Selma to Montgomery March on March 25th, 1965. You may remember, it's been in the news lately, there was an earlier march on Selma. It was on a Sunday in early March, and Martin Luther King did not march in that one because he was being a pastor that day. That day has, in history, then been referred to as Bloody Sunday, the day on which people like John Lewis were beaten bloody. Martin Luther King said about that march, had I known there was going to be that kind of violence, I would have not been pastor that day. I would have been at the march. But there was subsequent to that a second march. And he speaks these words, and I'm only taking excerpts after the second march. He says, "My people, listen. I know there is a cry today in Alabama seen in numerous editorials. When will Martin Luther King and all these civil rights agitators and all these white clergymen and labor leaders and students and others get out of our community and let Alabama return to normalcy? I have a message that I would like to leave with Alabama this evening. That is exactly what we don't want, and we will not allow it to happen. For we know that it was normalcy in Marion that led to the brutal murder of Jimmy Lee Jackson. It was normalcy in Birmingham that led to the murder on Sunday morning of 4 beautiful, unoffending, innocent girls. It was normalcy on Highway 80 that led state troopers to use tear gas and horses and billy clubs against unarmed human beings who were simply marching for justice. It was normalcy by a cafe in Selma, Alabama that led to the brutal beating of Reverend James Reed. The only normalcy that we will settle for is the normalcy that recognizes the dignity and worth of all God's children. The only normalcy we will settle for is the normalcy that allows judgment to run down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. The only normalcy that we will settle for is the normalcy of brotherhood, the normalcy of true peace, and the normalcy of justice. The speech goes on to talk about a number of issues that were issues that at that time: segregation, poverty, nuclear proliferation, and the Vietnam War. All of those were issues that, for those of us who remember, were our issues in that time. But now we're in a new time. And we need to think about normalcy. And we need to think about what we want normalcy to be. We want normalcy to be that every child goes to bed having eaten a meal and not hungry. We want normalcy to be that anybody who's being abused by a spouse finds sanctuary somewhere. We want normalcy to be that any school child who is being bullied because he or she is different, we want that to end. We want normalcy to be the end of bullying. We want normalcy to be that all people in this country who are eligible to vote are allowed to vote and not kept from voting. We want normalcy to be that peace of heart that we pray for every day is something that moves beyond just our hearts and becomes something that we work for and strive for and pray for and march for and act for. We know, because so many of us have been treated with disdain and no respect for equality, for whatever reason, we know that equality and justice belong to every person, not just here in our community or in our nation, but around the world. God created one human family. And if you don't believe me, ask Ancestry.com. For a mere $100, they'll tell you that. This is our time. And it's up to us to decide what we want the sign of our time to be. At Faith Family, the sign of the time has always been, since our founding, and the free fall. That this be a place of extravagant welcome. That everybody who walks through that door will find here open arms and not closed arms of judgment. We've also been a church and a church family that has said from the very beginning that we are not the island of the broken toys anymore. that we are beautiful people created in God's image, and we will create sanctuary not just for ourselves, but for everybody who comes to us. So I say, let's enjoy the grape juice we have at communion. Because what communion says to us is not only that we are God's own and are having this moment of common, loving, being held and nurtured with God, but that all of us are part of God's beloved family, being held and being nurtured and being cared for. Let us celebrate the sign of our time, the sign of a miracle yet to be, by living in a way that people know we are Faith Family, United Church of Christ, persons of peace, persons of justice, persons who welcome